Hi everyone, I'm Bonnie Crane and welcome to Graciellie Makes Cards. Today I am working with the digital stamp by Graciellie Design called Beautiful Day. If you would like to know more about the basics of working with digital stamps, please visit my blog at www.bonniecarolee.com. This video will focus on watercoloring. I will be working with Altenew watercolors and two brushes from Kazan Gold Series, size 0 and 8. I'm using just two colors for the poppy. My light tone is Rubelite and the dark tone is Cosmic Berry. I begin by wetting one area of the petal. It is this wetness that helps control where the paint goes. It acts like a barrier and keeps the paint in the area that you're working on. I introduce Rubelite first because it is the light tone. Letting the water do the work for me, I only pull the color out to the areas where the paint did not go. Working with my size 8 brush, I lighten my pressure even more when I work in a tight area. To create a highlight at the top of the petal, I dry off my brush on my paper towel and simply lift the paint off. I am now ready to introduce my dark tone, Cosmic Berry. This petal is damp, so I am able to just drop in color at the center and follow along the petal that overlaps this petal with the dark tone. I also create a shadow area where the petal curls at the top. I continue to add the dark tone until I'm happy with the depth of color that I have and the contrast that it creates. It is this contrast that creates a dimensional look in your flower. I'm ready to move on to my next petal. I don't want to work next to the area that I just painted, otherwise I'll end up with paint bleeding into it. I skip a petal and then wet the area with water. Because the water will help control where the paint goes, I can go ahead and just drop in my light tone. Because this petal is overlapped by two other petals, it will have a large shadow area for me to drop in the dark tone. And the process continues as I work around the flower in areas where one petal is not touching another. Except here. My enthusiasm overtook my sense and I went ahead and wet the area. I put in a very light tone, but then I realized what I was doing and I stopped. How does that saying go? Do as I say, not as I do. While the petals are wet, I'm going ahead and adding in some more contrast into the shadow areas, and then I'll let it dry completely. I know I can resume my work by lightly touching the painted areas. If it feels cool to the touch, it is not completely dry. I'm going to pop on some music for just a little bit until I finish painting the remainder of the petals. You'll notice that the leaf and stem in the center of the flower are watercolored as well. Because I was placing a vellum strip over the leaf and stem, I didn't bother showing how I painted it. I simply just put on some paint and didn't worry too much about the details. I am now working with my zero size brush and Cosmic Berry to go back to all the flower petals and put in some details. I am working directly off the paint block and my brush is only damp. With a very light touch, I redefine the petal lines. I also go back and deepen those shadow areas. On the curled edges of the petal, where there are creases, I add little triangles of deep color. I probably spend as much time on adding these final details as I did painting the entire flower. FYI, this took me 35 minutes to paint, not counting the drying times. I finish up in the center of the flower with a very dry brush. I feather the brush up to deepen the tone in this area. I add some dotted detail to the center with a gel pen. Distress stain is used to spatter the panel. After the panel is dry, I'm ready to attach my sentiment, which I printed on vellum from the computer. On the backs of the letters, I put on small dots of multi-medium matte. This helps the vellum lay flat. I use tape on the vellum at the back of the panel to hold it in place. For dimension, I adhere sheet foam to my watercolor panel. I attach black cardstock, which is 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches to the card base. I pop the card base on a square so that I can then take my panel and put it directly on top and have it line up perfectly. I attach my watercolor panel, leaving an 1/8 inch border. My card is finished off with a few sequins from Hero Arts called Ombre Blush. I finish up by putting a drop of Nouveau Morning Dew drops in the center of each sequin. The drops dry clear, adding some nice dimension to the card. That completes my card for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, please hit the like button. If you learned something today, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed to my channel. Until next time, I'm Bonnie Graciellie. Have an awesome day.